Welcome to Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura, and today we are going to make gift bags. And we are going to use original paper gift bags, and we're going to take those gift bags and make them into fabric. So the size of the gift bag you choose is going to be the size of the gift bag that you're finished, because you're going to use the actual bag as your pattern, and you will be able to use the original handles, so you won't have to buy anything extra for the handles. So what you're going to need to do is, well, get an old gift bag, one that has handles that you're able to reuse. So in other words, not the paper handles. And you need to choose your fabric. Now you can choose any fabric you want at all. I like this line from Timeless Treasures. It's called Marigold, and I think the colors are a lot of fun, and I'm going to make quite a few bags out of this. Now the key player in this is going to be this product called Soft and Stable. So the Annie Soft and Stable is really nice, because what it is, it's foam with fabric on both sides. It's sewable and washable, and it is going to make the bag have that nice stable look that we want, but it's going to remain soft. So this is the gift bag that I'm going to make out of fabric. So the first thing I need to do is, well, remove the handles, because I am going to reuse those handles. And if you're going to use the nylon handles, be very careful with the iron, because the heat of the iron will melt these and it'll stick to your iron. Down the center you will find a fold, and you're going to cut down that center fold, following that line all the way right to the bottom. Then you're going to cut along the bottom right to the corner, and you need to do that for both sides. So this is our pattern now. So now that we've had this cut out, we're going to lay it on top of a piece of Soft and Stable, and we are going to trace all the way around the outside of the bag. After you've had it all traced, mark where the handles were, and then mark where the fold lines were. And don't forget to mark the seam along the bottom. So now we have all of the seams marked. So you've just made your own pattern. Now we need to cut the pattern out, and you can use your rotary cutter and mat for this. And just cut all the way down, following your drawing lines on both sides, and you won't have to worry about these little notches yet. So your pattern's been cut out. Now you get to place it on top of your fabric. And make sure that you have at least 1 inch all the way around. And you are going to sew the 2 layers together. Pin your pattern onto the fabric and make sure your fabric is pressed. You're not going to have any problems sewing the Annie Soft and Stable, because it is very easy to sew. With matching thread, sew down your line here and sew those lines right there, and you can come right off the fabric. So the pieces have been sewn together. Now we need to cut out these tiny corners, and just put your scissors between the 2 layers and cut out this foam. Now try to trim as close as you can to your stitching line without cutting the fabric. Now that these pieces have been cut out, you can see that that is the same shape. Now you're going to do another row of stitching, and you're going to stitch 1/4 inch onto the Soft and Stable all the way around. Take this and give it a nice press. Take your lining, which has been pressed, right side up. Your front of the bag, right side down. And now you need to make a seam allowance all the way around at 1/2 inch. Now by layering the fabrics together, well, you have assured that both these sizes are exactly the same size. And you can see that we do have the seam allowance all the way around the outside. Now we're going to add the handles. On the front, we need to mark the seams for the handles. So just place a pin in the marked area and turn the bag over. Pin the handles onto the front of the bag, right in the placement that you have. Now the next thing is to pin the straps out of your way. So take a safety pin and just pin them out of the way, because you don't want those handles to get caught anywhere in the side seams. In the seam allowance, just stitch the handles down. So the handles are stitched down, and I'm going to leave the pins because that way they will never get in my way. The next thing is to sew it together. Take the bag and fold it right in half. And you are going to stitch right beside this soft and stable, your pattern. You're not going to stitch on the pattern. You're going to stitch right along the pattern edge. Now, if it's not equal on both sides or you've sewn over top of the soft and stable, don't worry about it. It'll all work out. Now you need to press these seams open and flat on both sides. Now you're able to take this bag bottom and it will automatically want to go into this shape, and you will sew again right along your soft and stable and do it on both sides, keeping your seams flat. So now the bag bottoms are done, and you can turn the bag right side out. And you can see the bag already wants to take that shape. Now we need to sew the lining. The same thing. Fold the lining in half, and you're going to sew the 1/2 inch seam allowance on one side. On the other side, stitch 1/2 inch a little bit at the top and a 1/2 inch a little bit at the bottom, because we're going to use this opening to turn the bag right side out. Press your seams open and flat. So the lining is in the same shape as the bag, but in this case it has a little opening in one of the side seams. Now take the outside and slide it over top of the inside. Make sure that the good sides are touching, matching up the side seams and the raw seams around the top. Stitch right beside that soft and stable all the way around. Now with this little opening, you're able to turn the bag right side out. Now we need to finish off this seam. So we have two choices. We can just stitch it with the machine, or you can hand stitch it. If you hand stitch it, well, the bag becomes reversible. So tuck the lining into the bag. Now you can take off your straps. Push out your corners, and then you will have a row of stitching that had already been previously done. You will be able to follow that 1/4 inch stitching line and stitch the lining down to the top of the bag. Now to press this, you are going to take those two outside seams and match them up on both sides, and then press this area here. You don't need to press this bottom. The next thing is just to press a little bit of the bottom seam, and if you just hit some steam on that handle and give it a pull, it will take the wrinkles off, because you do not want to hit that with the iron. Now you have the gift bag complete. From a paper gift bag to a cloth gift bag. They're both reusable. However, chances are this one won't be regifted. You can make them in many different colors, many different styles. Any way you do them, they're quick, they're easy, and they can be addicting. Give them a try and let me know what you think. Thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, come on back. Let's see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.